Are you guys ready to take your shot?
Yes. I have
yes,
Corona
ma'am.
instead of alcohol, but I can do this.
I haven't taken a shot in a really long time.
I have a shot of tequila. What do you have, Lex?
I have a shot of, I think it's called Bullet Bourbon Whiskey, because I'm drinking whiskey in my drink and I can't mix my light and darks. Yeah,
No,
it's just bad
don't
news.
want to do that. Well, the reason why we're taking a shot is because right now while we're recording, I'm about to start my finals week for my last spring semester. I still have summer school in the fall, but last spring semester. And when this airs, it'll be when I'm done. So, like, we're just, like, cheersing for that. So, we'll survive the week.
Cheers. Let's do this.
Yay!
Ching.
Oh, God. I don't know about you, but it's my alcoholic drink.
Man, I
Me too.
only made it through like half of that Corona, and my throat is burning like a motherfucker right now.
Alrighty, let's do this thing.
You know your life is just a dream, don't you?
Welcome to Who Fucking Knows, a podcast where three friends, a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead, discuss conspiracy theories, murder mysteries, and unknown phenomena that make you say, who fucking knows what happened. My name is Angela.
I'm Taylor.
My name is Lexi.
Currently, I feel like I'm going to be burping a lot this episode because I've had 2 micheladas. I'm working on my 3rd michelada, and I have a beer that's like half finished now from that earlier shot.
What
so I'm gonna
is in a michelada?
Ooh, I'm going to break it down for you.
Please, because you sent me that Snapchat. I'm like, what is this?
So it's like pretty much a Mexican Bloody Mary. So what I put in mine, I put Tapatio, a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, lime, and then clamato, which is like clam tomato juice, and it's like I have the lime version of that. So I put that like halfway through with all the like spices and stuff, and then I put Corona in it. And the rim is usually the rim I put on the rim tahini and lime.
Whoa, so it's like a savory drink.
Yeah, and I put a little like
a
a dash of pickle juice in this one, just because I like pickles and I was curious.
Sounds like it's
tart. Yeah.
The next time I sleep over and we drink and I wake up and I'm staying, you're making me that because I feel like that'll help with a hangover. Because I don't really like Bloody Marys, and I think it's because they're mostly made with vodka, and I hate vodka. Just knowing that it's there.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Anyway, welcome to us ranting about the alcohol that we drink. We're not alcoholics, I swear. I promise, Mom. Anyway, welcome to Who Fucking Knows. This week, I'm drinking tequila and orange juice, so since I'm speaking in the middle, it might be an interesting story time, which it usually is, but anyway.
Nice.
Lexi, what
I'm drinking a spicy whiskey sour. So Trader Joe's has this delicious jalapeno limeade. So I have that with some whiskey and like a little bit of sparkling lemonade. It's really good. Highly recommend it.
I love spicy drinks. Just they work.
Yeah, I have found a new love for them. I had never tried them, and I've tried them, and I'm like, it's so good.
Something you guys should try is getting a bottle of tequila and putting jalapenos in it and soaking jalapenos in it for a few days. It makes like spicy tequila that's really good for margaritas. Yeah. Ooh.
Game changer.
So should I give you guys some current news? You ready for this?
Yes, please.
So I'm gonna do something.
Happy news?
It's like it's scientific news. So I think my current news events so far are usually spacey, and this one's pretty spacey. So on Wednesday, let me actually pull up my notes because I forgot that I had those for a second.
I forgot we're recording video and I probably shouldn't eat. Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. She's like,
I honestly feel a little awkward, but it's fine.
Like, hi, people watching on YouTube. Taylor's just having her thing.
I know. I used to be able to pick my nose while recording, and now I can't.
Now I'm more conscious about the weird faces that I make. You're gonna see 5 chins at some point or another. Maybe the first episode we're doing this. Maybe the 10th.
We love.
Who knows? Who fucking knows? That's our name.
Eventually. All right. So, current news. Earlier this week, on Wednesday, to be exact, a team of astronomers from the European Southern Observatory published a study in the peer-reviewed Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics about the discovery of a black hole just 1,000 light years from Earth. And what's interesting about this, it's the closest black hole that they've ever seen near our planet. So the astronomers found, yeah, and it's like, I think that's trippy. So the astronomer found the invisible object while tracking 2 nearby stars in the constellation. So I guess like they saw this like binary star system that seemed to be orbiting around an invisible mass, and they're like, whoa, it's a black hole. And I guess the co-author said that of the study, his name is Dietrich Bad. He said, we were not searching for it. It was a complete surprise. So it is part of a binary star system that used to be 3 stars before the most massive star collapsed in a supernova explosion. So, yeah, the previous closest black hole is about 3 times further away. So, it's an interesting discovery, and it also just, like, I think it opens up a lot of new a lot of new information that could help further research elsewhere. Like, if they see something similar to this, then they know, like, oh, that's what that is. So, I think that's a really interesting discovery.
Nice.
Is it close enough to where it's ever a threat, or do they think it could be a threat to our solar system?
I don't think so. 1,000 light years is super fucking far away.
Yeah, so the speed of light in a vacuum is 186,282 miles per second, and in theory, nothing can travel faster than light. In miles per hour, light speed is, well, a lot, about 670,616,629 miles per hour. If you could travel at the speed of light, you could go around the Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. It's pretty far. We don't need to be too worried about this, people.
Not really. So
everything's fine.
It's an exciting discovery because it's far enough that it's not going to hurt us, but close enough that we can kind of observe it and see what the hell it's doing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. We're new to like showing off pictures, but let me just pop this right here. I put the first picture in Discord, but it's like an illustration of what that star system is, and there's 2 stars orbiting around the black hole.
Nice.
But
ooh, pretty.
That's what I got for current news.
Thank you, Angela. Lexi, what are you going to tell us this week?
So going back to my roots here and telling you a little ghosty story.
Ooh.
This is a story about a haunted painting. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I had kind of heard of it.
Sorry, when you said this is a story, I was like, this is a story about a girl who's
you gotta be a piano world.
That's a solo moment.
Okay, continue.
Yes. Okay. Haunted painting. A story about a haunted painting. So, I'm going to tell you guys about the painting called The Hands Resist Him. And
I know about
I'm going to describe it, and then I'll unspoil my spoiler painting in Discord. So,
are you going to give a warning before this, though?
You know this one? Should I give a warning? I was thinking about it.
I'm like, give a warning. Give a warning.
Okay,
you should give a warning.
Allegedly, some people who have looked at this painting have complained of feeling ill or feeling off or just extremely uncomfortable. So I guess if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, don't look at this painting on our website. And I mean, I've been looking at it all day, and so far, I feel fine.
Yeah. Just look at your own risk. Don't blame us for bullshit. That's all I wanted to say as a warning.
Yeah. Don't sue us, please. It's all over the internet. Okay, so the painting shows a young boy standing next to a girl doll. This girl doll has hollow eyes. I repeat, hollow eyes and a sad mouth. She's like, meh. So the doll is holding some sort of weird device with wires coming out of it. The creepiest part of the painting is it features many disembodied children's hands reaching towards the boy through glass panel doors that are behind him. So I'll go ahead and unspoil this image in the chat. Or no, I guess you guys can?
Yeah, I think we do it.
All right, go ahead and click on it and look at that shit. And then I will also display it in my video. So here is the painting.
Oh, it's so fucking creepy. Anything with
super
dolls
creepy. Don't look at it for too long, I guess.
It's staring into my soul. It's kind of hard not to look for too long. Anyway,
I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm looking at the boy, like the boy's looking at me. I'm like, what is this photo? And
do you
like,
feel any uneasiness?
Yeah. I feel okay.
So far, so good. I'm feeling good. I had a shot.
But I'm gonna just scroll away from that.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the hollowed eyes just staring into the corner. I'm like, okay, does she have anything to do with the hands behind her? And if so, what the fuck does she see right now?
Right?
Thank you.
Right? Yeah. So basically what makes this painting even creepier is the stories of what have happened to people who have come into contact with it or even have just, I guess, seen it on the internet. So.
Which you kind of hinted at.
What we warned you about in the beginning. So
if you're watching this,
was painted.
If you're watching this on YouTube and you feel any kind of sickness when you see that photo or have any weird experiences after this experience, then leave a comment down below because we would love to hear that shit. You know,
please.
We don't want you to feel bad, but if you do, let us know.
Yeah, because we would love it.
Creepy.
Or on our Instagram, by the way.
Yeah, let us know. Okay, so this painting was painted by William Stoneham in 1972. That is the artist of the painting. In 1974, so he was sort of like an artist who would paint things every once in a while and sell them. So he had this painting that was displayed in the Feingarten Gallery in Beverly Hills in 1974. And when it was there, it was critiqued by a man named Henry Seldes. Then, at this same gallery, the painting was then purchased by an actor named John Marley. Apparently he's in The Godfather. I'd never heard of him. I hope he's not super famous or else I'm going to be embarrassed, but oh well. So, a few years after the painting was sold to John Marley, the art critic who had originally critiqued the painting in, I think it was like the LA Times, he died. Then, the owner of the gallery where the painting was displayed in also died shortly after. And then in 1984, John Marley, the man who purchased the painting, died. And then the painting just mysteriously disappeared. So, basically from, I guess, 1974 to 1984, within 10 years, which again, anything could happen in 10 years. Maybe it wasn't directly related to the painting, but it was just a weird set of coincidental deaths of people that were
nothing is a coincidence.
In contact with the painting. I mean, that's what I think.
Whereas
how old were they?
Quinkydink.
I actually didn't look up. I think I didn't look up the age, but I was thinking about doing that because I was like, maybe they were older. Like I was trying to look for other excuses other than the painting, and then I got distracted, so I don't know how old they were. But I like to think it's from the painting. So 1984, that guy John Marley died, the owner of the painting, and then it disappeared until 2000 when a very bizarre eBay posting popped up, and these were new owners of the painting. They were very desperate to sell it because they claimed it was haunted. So they put up this eBay ad and they're like, please buy this painting from us. It's haunted. Only buy it if you can handle like what we're about to tell you about this painting. So they claimed... quick,
if I had a haunted object, and, well, like, if I had a haunted object and I wanted to get rid of it. I don't think I would try to sell it because I wouldn't want to curse someone else with it. I think I would like hit up Zach Baggins or other like ghost people because there's so many shows and internet stuff and be like, yo, who wants to collect this bad boy? And then auction that shit off and actually make money off of it and not
right.
feel bad
You
about
gotta
it.
make money.
I thought
Taylor's strategy.
Taylor's a much better person than I, because I thought where Taylor was going with this is if I had a haunted object, I wouldn't be telling people it's haunted when I'm selling it on eBay if I was trying to get rid of it.
Please.
Did they start having weird experiences? What are you talking about? I'm fine.
I honestly think you could sell something. Do you think you could sell something that fucking creepy without people questioning if it's haunted or not? Like,
I know.
Like, contemporary art nowadays, it's weird shit, man.
It's an antique, we swear.
I know. Okay, so these new owners that were desperate to sell the painting claimed that the boy in the painting and the doll in the painting would fight each other during the night, which would terrify their 4-year-old daughter. So by their description, I'm assuming the painting is in her room. It's like, why the fuck would you put that painting in a 4-year-old's room? What year is this again? This was in 2000. God, they know fucking better than that at this point. I know!
Y2K.
They lived through the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, come on. But allegedly, they set up a motion sensing camera in the room and claimed to have captured the boy in the picture, like, stepping out of the frame and, like, fleeing from the doll. And it's like, okay, guys, that's a little far-fetched. Where's your video footage? It was never surfaced. But anyways, so the owners warned people not to bid on the painting if they were, quote, faint of heart or unfamiliar with supernatural events. So more than 30,000 people visited the auction page. And again, many people reported that just by looking at the painting made them feel ill or upset. In my notes, I have ... So far, I feel fine.
Perfect. That's good. That's good to know.
So far, so good. So ultimately, the painting was sold for $1,025 to a buyer in Michigan, and he's keeping it in a storage unit and refusing other offers who want to buy it for a lot of money. He's like, no, you can't have this. It's haunted. I'm gonna keep it.
Gotta
and
make money.
I know. I'd be like, sure, you can have this painting. I need to pay off my student loans. Take it. But so after this painting basically blew up the internet, Stoneham, the artist of the painting, came forward and told everyone sort of what inspired him to paint such a haunting scene. So he claimed that the boy in the painting is himself, and it was modeled off a photo taken when he was around 5 years old. And the title of the painting, which is, again, The Hands Resist Him, which is super creepy, it came from a poem that his wife wrote. And I guess Stoneham, the artist, was adopted. So he explains that the creepy children hands in the background represent other lives, and then the door that they're behind is like a barrier between different worlds, and the doll is his guide between those different worlds. So it's like,
why are they fighting? Yeah, but like, why does it have a sinister feeling with the hands like clawing, almost clawing at them? Like they're curved a little bit. Like
I don't know,
it's grab weird. You and grab you, like take you into the darkness, which is usually
and it's just interesting, like his interpretation of it as the creator, and then all of pretty much the internet and people who have seen this painting are just two totally different interpretations.
Yeah, they're like, man.
I mean, his is still kind of creepy.
Yeah.
In 2016, Darren Kyle O'Neill, who's a director, published a dramatized account of the haunted piece of art. However, upon doing this, he then had his own sort of eerie experience with the painting. So here's a quote from him telling his experience. I first saw it online when I was living in Dubai. I printed it out and left it on a side table next to some other documents printed on the same printer with the same paper. Anyway, I went to Italy for a month. When I came back, the air conditioning had gone awry. Everything was green mold. The TV, bed sheets, my daughter's cot and clothing, all of my suits in the closet and the documents I had printed were all green. But right next to them, the only thing that was perfectly untouched was the printout of the painting. Which is...
The printout? It wasn't even just the fucking painting.
No, he printed out a picture of the painting on the same sheet of paper that all of the rest of them had gone bad.
That's not a coincidence.
Spooky.
Is that your spooky radar sound?
Yes.
That's a first.
I was trying to do like a I don't know, like an X-File, and I was like, ooh, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm still working on it, okay? I'm still working on it.
I low-key have, like, a little bit of a headache right now, which is really fucking weird.
Are you serious?
And I keep, like, going back and looking at it, and I'm like, are you doing
Stop
this?
looking!
Or, like,
Stop
I feel
looking!
like it's because of the contrast of the shirt. I feel like the contrast of the shirt is, like, too bright for my eyes to handle. Either that or I've just had way too much beer so far.
Or the painting is haunted.
Yeah, don't forget the obvious, Angela.
Oh my god.
Stop making excuses.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep scrolling away.
But anyways, so Stoneham, the artist, who's now only in his 70s, he still gets like emails and letters with questions about this mysterious painting. So I'll just end on this kind of chilling quote from him. So it says, "We live in an age of science, of revelation, and hard realities and hard facts, but we are still drawn to the mysterious. And what is more mysterious than paintings? More than any other object, paintings are a one-of-a-kind thing created by someone using their hands." Who fucking knows if this painting is actually haunted or if it's just some sort of placebo effect of everyone being like, oh, yeah, this makes you feel this way, or it's haunted.
Or it's haunted. One of those.
I'll leave it at that.
We'll go with that. Excellent. Well, that was quite an interesting story. I'm going to bring you way fucking down because I have a really horrible serial killer that I'm going to cover. And this is the first time, hopefully, if this works out, everything, that people actually see what my expressions are. And I look cheerful, but it's just a coping mechanism, okay? So, have either of you heard of the Mile High Killer?
No.
Maybe.
So the majority of what I'm going to tell you I got from coldcasewriter.com or the Inside Hook, and most of the photos are from either of those websites and then also just Googling about this. So here we go. Call him what you want. The Aurora Hammer Slayer, the Denver Hammer Killer, the Mile High Killer. Call him the devil. A catchy name doesn't matter. What matters is that between January 4th and January 16th of 1984, he committed a series of escalating, terrifying, and brutal assaults in Aurora, Colorado. He attacked more people than the Zodiac Killer. So, Aurora, Colorado is about 10 miles east of Denver, Colorado, and the majority of the attacks that I'm going to reference all happened within this 20-mile span. So, this is the, digested one, which finally led to a couple of different things. And when I was Googling, things about Aurora, Colorado, it was dubbed safest large town of Colorado, which I thought was interesting because all this horrific things happened in this area.
So, is that what it's dubbed as now? Like today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And the crime rate's
They're really
not
trying
too
to
bad.
Bring it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, we get the occasional crazy, but since then we've been fine.
We're not as bad as other places like LA. So, January 4th, 1984, James Haubenchild was 25 years old and married to Kim for 2 years. They lived in a house in Aurora, Colorado. However, a minor overlooked detail ruined their night. They had forgotten to lock the garage door. A man decided to enter through the door and attack the couple with a hammer. He fractured James's skull and gave Kimberly a nasty concussion, but both of them survived.
Fuck. Wow.
There were very few leads to go on, only a hazy physical description from Kim. The case lacked any apparent motive. The police found footprints in the snow that led up to and away from the homes in the same area and on the same street, leading them to believe that the offender was simply looking for an easy opportunity to lash out. So it seemed completely random, no motive. Case goes cold.
Wow.
Not that you have much time to go cold, because that was January 4th, and here we go on January 9th, next attack. So, Monday evening, the sun just went down. 28-year-old Donna Dixon was just arriving home from her work. You can look at the first photo. She was a flight attendant who hadn't been home in a while and looking forward to a good chunk of time being home. Her boyfriend, Ronald Holm, was due to come over the next day. Ronald was a pilot, so that's how they met. They met through work. And as you can see, she's just like a young, beautiful, happy soul. Donna pulled into the driveway, hit the remote to open the garage, and pulled her car in. Before exiting the vehicle, she turned to grab her flight attendant uniform, which was hanging in the back. As she turned to leave the car, she felt a tremendous blow on the left side of her head. The force of the impact threw her head into the steering wheel. The world turned a painful red, and Donna began to lose consciousness. She slumped over onto the passenger seat. So this is where things get really horrible, so buckle in. If you have a faint of heart and like ghosties and conspiracies, don't listen to my stories ever, pretty much. Anyway, even to this day, she has absolutely no recollection of the next several hours. It's quite possible that she wasn't even conscious for any of it. Investigators were able to piece together the details of the horrendous ordeal through study of the evidence in the crime scene. The blow she'd felt was the attacker striking her head with a hammer. He tossed it onto the seat of the car and began pulling her from the vehicle. He tore her clothes off, tossed them about the garage, and then he raped her on the concrete floor. The next thing Donna remembered was waking up naked in the garage. She had no idea how she got there, and she didn't feel any pain. She was numb and cold, and somehow was able to get to her feet and go inside the house. She made her way to the bedroom and went to bed. It would be nearly 24 hours total before she was found.
But she survived this.
Yes.
So she kind of just like dazed and and found her way to bed and was like, what the fuck just happened? Like
yeah, and just knew that she was tired and cold, wanted to be in bed. At around 8 p.m. on January 10th, which is the next day, that next evening, her boyfriend, Ron Holm, arrived home. He was immediately alarmed at the scene in the garage. Her clothes, purse, and even some of the mail was by her car. Blood near the front seat sent him into a panic, which you can look at. Photo number 2 should be a crime scene photo. He raced inside and quickly found Donna in the middle of the blood-soaked bed. She was naked, curled up in a fetal position, and groaning. He shouted her name, but she could only groan in response. He noticed a gaping wound on the left side of her skull. Ron quickly called 911. Donna was rushed to the hospital while police worked the scene. The large hammer was recovered, still on the seat of the car where the attacker had left it. It was tested for prints, but none were found. You can look at photo number 3. Blood was all over the garage floor. There was blood all over the car. Her clothes were tossed everywhere. Her purse was found nearby. Some money had been stolen from it. Nothing else appeared to be missing. Donna underwent several operations. Despite the trauma of the attack and losing an incredible amount of blood, the doctors and nurses were able to save her life. Amazingly, it was thought that spending so many hours naked on the garage floor in the freezing temperatures may have kept her from bleeding to death.
Wow.
So if she had stayed in the car, she would have probably had died.
Jeez.
Wow.
The severity of her injuries can't be understated. When she first woke up, she had the, quote, mentality of a 2-year-old. She had to relearn how to talk and couldn't speak a full sentence for about 6 months.
Oh my god.
To leave you a little happy note. Yeah. To leave you a little happy note, Ronald and Donna ended up getting married 3 months after the attack because she still understood things. She just couldn't verbally speak them because her memories and stuff were still intact. So she remembered who he was and remembered that she loved him, but she couldn't relay anything. And so she was cognitive enough to accept his proposal, and they have been married to this day.
Oh, that's nice. That's good.
Yeah.
But dude,
it just gets worse from here. Those were the last people that are known to have survived this attacker that I'm going to go over. So January 10th, she was attacked the night of the 9th, but was found the night of the 10th. So this is the next day. The killer decided to go 26 miles to the west in the city of Lakewood. Patricia Louise Smith started her day like any other by dropping her daughter and grandkids at work/school. You can look at the next photo. The first sign of trouble came in the afternoon when Patricia failed to pick them up. So as you see, there's a picture of Patricia. And the family got a ride home, and when they arrived home, they found it very odd that Patricia's car was still there and the TV appeared to be on in the upstairs bedroom. Immediately, they felt that something was wrong. When they walked into the home, lying on the floor next to the couch and just a few feet away from the front door, was the carefully poised body of Patricia. So she was moved and, like, placed there. So, like, how depressing is this? It's like, you notice things are kind of off, and then as soon as you walk into your home, you see your dead grandmother on the floor. I would be fucking traumatized for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Patricia Smith had been laid straight, her arms crossed over her chest as if on display in a funeral home. A neatly folded Winnie the Pooh comforter lay under her, a portion of it obscuring her head, which you can look at the next photo. I just found, like, a random photo of what I think it would have looked at like. It's not bloody, it's not scary. Not any of my photos
Winnie
really
the Pooh
are.
Piglet.
It and the floor around it. Yeah, let's go back to depressing. I'm sorry. So it was folded underneath her head, and it and the floor around it was soaked in blood. Patricia still wore her sweater and boots, but her jeans were pulled down. A hammer lay next to her. It was later determined to be a murder weapon. So she was also hit by a hammer and then sexually assaulted. The hammer is his choice of weapon because that's what he's used. Yeah. And he usually leaves them behind. It doesn't, like, he brings them and then leaves them. He doesn't find it on property or anything like that, which is even worse. Ooh, tequila. Police examining the scene were able to reconstruct the basic chain of events. It was determined that she had been killed sometime between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Patricia had come home from work for lunch, stopping at Wendy's on the way. She'd left the garage door open and most likely left the door unlocked as she went upstairs, removed her wig, and turned the television on. Since they could find no signs of forced entry, police felt that the killer entered through the unlocked door and attacked her. They didn't feel that he forced his way into the home as she entered it herself due to the television, wig, and Wendy's receipt being located upstairs. So, like, he entered while she was coming downstairs and he found her and then killed her and then placed her next to the door. And looking into it, it seemed that robbery was not the primary motive. Only the personal jewelry that Patricia was wearing was missing from the scene. The house was not ransacked, but the contents of her purse was strewn about. No fingerprints or any other usable evidence could be found at the scene.
Wow.
So 5 days later, the Bennett family was home celebrating the birthday of Melissa, the oldest out of two, who was turning 8 years old. Her 3-year-old sister Vanessa, 26-year-old mother Deborah, and 27-year-old father Bruce were celebrating at their home with other family members. You can click the next photo, you can see a little family photo of them together. The last extended family member left around 9 p.m. When they did, they noticed that the garage door was still open. Some of them said that, like, it wasn't weird that it was still open because it seemed that the dad was going to go run it to the store real quick. And then some people were like, no, I kind of thought it was strange, but I didn't say anything about it. And remember, like, all of these murders had just happened and the community's kind of aware, but they're not fully aware and it's still the 80s. People don't lock doors quite as, like, strictly as they do nowadays, right?
No.
So, like I said, the last family member left at around 9 p.m., and this was the last time the Bennetts were seen alive. Sometime between 9 p.m. on the 15th and 10 a.m. on the 16th, most likely between midnight and 6 a.m., an intruder entered the Bennett home. You can see the next photo. It's a photo of a body bag being wheeled out of the house. At some point, either when the intruder entered the couple's bedroom or before, Bruce was alerted to the intruder's presence, and tremendous struggle took place. By the way, he is an ex-Marine, so he's not, like, he's trained, and he's fighting this person. And there's so much evidence around the house that show how brutal of a fight it was as well.
If this was a fair fight, that asshole would have been fucking done. But it's like he invaded this man's home, and he was completely not prepared for this kind of situation, and that's so fucked up. Like, that is, like, white
and not only is he like and he has, like, the adrenaline of, I want to protect my family from this intruder, but this intruder has a hammer and he's used this to hurt a lot of people / kill a lot of people.
Hammer, that's such a it's a violent way to kill someone.
Yeah. So Bruce and the intruder fought up and down the stairwell, and at some point Bruce was struck multiple times by a hammer. Even after he was struck and injured severely, Bruce continued to struggle violently with his attacker, and it seems he climbed the stairs after him, even after the intruder thought he was unconscious or dead. So he was, like, down on the floor, the intruder was going up the stairs, he was like, fuck, I'm still alive, I'm gonna bring you fucking down. The attacker retrieved a butcher knife from the kitchen and began stabbing Bruce in various places on his upper body, and once Bruce was incapacitated again, the offender used the knife to slit his throat from ear to ear. Bruce finally succumbed to his injuries, and the family was left vulnerable. He fucking fought for his family.
Gosh.
It seems that Deborah was the next victim, and she may have even been approached and incapacitated in the middle of Bruce's struggles with the killer. So it's not unsure, like, if she was unconscious while he was fighting, or if she was hiding and then he found her, type of thing. But he did find her, and he ended up... there was evidence of a struggle in the bedroom. Deborah was savagely beaten to death with a hammer, and she was also raped. I don't know if I uploaded this photo in Discord, but there's a photo of, like, a bloody bed that we may or may not show. Bruce and Deborah were both probably dead by the time the killer entered Melissa's bedroom. He viciously struck the young child in the head with a hammer. As blood poured out of her body, he lifted her up from the bed, unknowingly leaving an imprint from his shirt on her blood-soaked pajamas. This is very key to remember later on. He took her to the floor and sexually assaulted her. The child died from her injuries, and she had just celebrated her birthday.
Fuck this person.
I told you this is really fucking dark. I'm sorry.
This is a downer, Taylor.
Meredith, if you're listening, stop listening and just skip my story. I love you, Meredith. And anyone who feels that way, you are now categorized as a Meredith.
Yeah, everyone on YouTube can just see me and Lexi, like, slowly losing our souls right now.
Sorry, guys.
I feel so sad.
I know.
Well, let's just keep getting sad and drinking. The youngest girl, Vanessa, only 3 years old, was also struck violently in the face with a hammer. The blow was so severe that her jaw was shattered and her skull was fractured in several places. The intruder, apparently thinking she was dead, began to make his escape. He didn't touch her. He just hit her and tried to leave.
3 years old.
It's the only silver lining on that. Yep. He took Deborah's purse and went out the front door, then dumped the contents out onto the snow. He also discarded the knife he'd used to kill Bruce. He kept the hammer this time. The Bennetts didn't show up for work on Monday. A coworker, and so this was on a Sunday, and so it was the next day that they were discovered. A coworker informed Bruce's mother, Constance, about their absence. Immediately, she went over to the home to investigate. The garage door was still open. Constance entered the home and encountered the grisly scene and immediately dialed the authorities. Which is so sad. Like, I always hate it when it's a close family member that, like, comes across the murder scene, because you can't unsee that.
Mm-hmm. God, and it was a whole entire family murdered.
Well, there is a little silver lining that's about to come up. So the police swarmed through the residence, quickly assessing the condition of each family member as they cordoned off certain areas of the home to gather evidence. Unfortunately, they verified one by one that each family member was deceased, at least until they came to Vanessa's bedroom. Wedged between the bed and the wall was 3-year-old Vanessa, choking up fragments of her own jawbone and barely clinging to life. She was quickly and carefully taken to the hospital in an ambulance. Constance, her grandmother, immediately set up a vigil, which she kept up for days, as the paramedics, nurses, and doctors worked feverishly to save the girl's life. After multiple surgeries, Vanessa was saved, though she went on to live with permanent psychological effects from the assault. No fucking shit. I would be so fucked up. Oh, but she lived a long and happy life, and from what I was able to gather, she's still alive today, and she still has a lot of problems with this, but she's also come to find some peace after all this time, as much as you could probably muster.
Aside from psychological problems, was there any kind of brain damage or anything that, like...
So there's an interview that we can post a link in the bio or whatever the fuck is underneath the YouTube video, because I don't do this thing. Angela's all YouTube. Anyway.
The description box. Check out
there we go.
the link in our description box.
If you want to. She's about in her mid-30s. She is interviewed and she talks about her experience and what... She doesn't remember anything, but kind of what she went through afterwards. And from what I gathered, she was... pretty much like put together physically. It's mostly the emotional and mental part of things, but you would think that a community would rally around a young survivor and try to, like, protect her in some ways or be moved to a new place. But her grandma, since they, like, their whole family was always there, she just moved in with her grandma. And she had a lot of anger issues because a lot of the children would mock her and wouldn't want to spend the night at her house because they were like, the Hammer Man is going to come and, like, kill us all. And, like, kind of was the black sheep of growing up. And it really just added
children
to a
are
whole
fucking
lot of
assholes.
Yeah.
Children are fucking
Jesus,
assholes.
fucking worse.
That's awful.
So the crimes appear to be sexually motivated, judging by the assaults that occurred on Deborah and Melissa. There wasn't anything notable stolen from the scene, and the attack had all the hallmarks of a random crime. Again, just opportunity because the garage door was open and he happened to be walking by or driving by.
Probably like walking around checking doors, right? Like, lock your doors.
Yeah. Or just driving down and realized that the garage door was open and was like, oh, there we go. That's something I can go in. Because I bet they forgot the garage door was open and just went to bed. They immediately connected it with the Donna Dixon case from January 9th and recognized that a serial offender was working the area. According to some sources, they were able to match a shoe print for the Bennett household to a shoe print found in the garage of the Donna Dixon assault. So those are all the specific crimes, that I'm going to go over because these are the ones that they know for sure are linked for this killer because, like I said, it's very notorious. And since this is the 80s, nothing's connected, and it isn't until after a lot of time has come past and, like, people looking into this because it's left unsolved forever, and it's just recent that developments have been made into the case, and they'll be able to, like, connect the dots to a bunch of this, but a lot of it is still, like, unsolved. But essentially what happened is, as time has gone on, a lot of people kept looking into things and were finding similar cases, and, like, the body count is very high. Again, there's no specific number, and it's only these ones, and along with a couple others that I'll mention in a little bit, that they're able to nail this guy with. So,
sorry, they all.
At least he's caught.
Angela.
Wow, that's just
dark, Angela. It's okay, it's funny, but it's really fucking dark. So no immediate leads could be generated in the case. Forensics determined that the hammers used in each of the attacks were different and that there didn't appear to be anything terribly useful in the way of fingerprints or other evidence. Years later, strides would start to be made in the crime lab. In 2002, remember this happened in 1984, so this is quite a few years later. The county filed a John Doe arrest warrant for the perpetrator of the Bennett murders based on the DNA profile. Then in 2010, a cold case investigators who long theorized that the person who killed Patricia Smith in Lakewood was the same person who had committed the crimes in Aurora, because remember, Patricia was like 20 to 30 miles away, so they hadn't fully connected the dots until 2010. They were like, no, like, the DNA here is matching. And they went and tested that theory and proved that it was indeed the same person. And so I have a little photo of, like, what it would look like when they have, like, sample data and then who they think it is and how it matches up. I thought that was kind of fun. Forensic photo. In 2015, information linked that there was an important clue found at the Bennett scene. Apparently, when the killer left Melissa Bennett, an imprint from his shirt was made in the blood that had resulted from his assault on her, which I said earlier. But that wasn't made clear to the public until 2015. 2 different crime labs analyzed the fuzzy imprint, and they came up with different results. One lab felt that the letters were R-I-C-H-A-R, as in, like, Richard, maybe as a name. Another lab felt that it said P-E-T-A-W space C, with a space or fold between the W and the C, and perhaps another fold in there as well. And so 2 different labs don't really know what it could have said, and so there's a bunch of theories. If you go on Reddit, like, there's a stream of theories that go from both sides, and it was kind of interesting to read, but since my story was already pretty long, I was like, okay, can't go this route. So, July of 2010, 26 years after the brutal attacks and murders, Colorado Bureau of Investigation the FBI developed a DNA profile in the Patricia's killing that matched the Bennett case. That DNA was compared to all the DNA samples the FBI had. Finally, there was a lead to who did the brutal attacks. It linked to an Alex Christopher Ewing, a 57-year-old man serving 70 years in Nevada. Can you guess what he was serving for in Nevada?
Hitting someone with a hammer? I don't know.
70 years.
Murdering people?
So, he was charged with attacking a man with a hammer, and he was charged and trialed in the summer of 1984. So all of these killings happened in January that we know of, and then he left Colorado area and was found in Nevada 6 months later, and tried attacking this man, and the man overpowered him, and that's how he was found and arrested. And it was also linked that he had killed a woman in Nevada as well, and they linked him for that, and so that's how he was sentenced for 70 years in Nevada.
So he was already in jail somewhere.
Yes, so that's why the killing stopped in Colorado. He left the area and then he was caught.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Yay to the man who overpowered him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Between these cities in Colorado and Nevada and then the surrounding states around that, there are quite a few unsolved hammer attacks and murders that are in this time frame that a lot of people connect to him, so that's why the numbers are unknown. But he is known to have attacked the 8 people that I mentioned specifically, along with the woman in Nevada, which he was sentenced 70 years for, and then finally the last man who survived and got away. And so, again, who fucking knows how many people he's attacked? And it wasn't until DNA, which I feel like I'm going to be a Forensic Files episode. It's until DNA evidence became real, updated in the 2000s, that they were able to find out who did this. So yeah, who fucking knows why he decided to do this? All of this was random, and he denies doing it all. And he's just nope, it wasn't me, even though his DNA is everywhere, and there's no fucking doubt in my mind he fucking did it. But yeah, that's my story.
Looking at his mugshot, he looks so smug too. He's like, maybe I hit him with a hammer, maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's that fucking dirtbag.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to bring us back up.
Please!
The year is 1975, and deep in the Apache National Forest in Springerville, Arizona, a 22-year-old Travis Walton was working with a timber stand improvement crew, employed by his best friend Mike Rogers and working alongside Ken Peterson, John Goulet, Steve Pierce, Alan Dallas, and Dwayne Smith. So, all these guys, a little after 6 p.m., they're all friends. So, work is over. They were sawing down trees all day. It's about 6 p.m. on November 5th, 1975, and they're driving from Springerville to Snowflake, Arizona. It's kind of funny, Snowflake, Arizona, because Arizona's hot as fuck, so that's a funny name. Snowflake. So, they're traveling in Mike's pickup truck, so he's the boss man of the contract, or the tree sawers, and they were chatting amongst themselves until they notice a strange glow coming from beyond a hill in the woodland that hugged the side of the road. So the group...
Are we talking about aliens tonight?
Yes, we are. So the group... Yeah, I know. And they didn't... Well, okay, never mind. I'll didn't hit anyone with a hammer, so...
Yes!
But,
thank goodness!
So the group was perplexed because the sun had already set, and they contemplated whether it was headlights or maybe hunters' lights, and for a moment they thought that maybe it was a forest fire. And the thing about their job is they would saw down timber to kind of prevent that kind of stuff. So the fact that they thought it was a forest fire, they're like, oh shit, maybe we should check that out just in case. So they started driving towards there. But as they got closer, they started to notice that the light was actually hovering in the air. And they were shocked because as they got even closer than that, there was a large silver disc hovering over a clearing in the roads. So it glowed brightly and beautifully, and it was lighting up a patch of ground underneath it. Slightly in shock, at what he was seeing, Mike Rogers, the boss man, drove his truck towards it, but then took a stop. And they said that from the truck, they can see it, and it looked like it was about 8 feet high and 20 feet in diameter. 8 feet high, 20 feet in diameter. A big-ass disc kind of hovering there. And they said that they didn't see any kind of, like, cracks in it. It was very, like, shiny and glowing and metallic, but they didn't see any doors. They did see kind of, like, windows on it, but that was it. Like, otherwise, it looked very smooth and flawless. And when
was it
Rogers
pretty flat or like?
It was a disc, so it was 20 feet, but like 8 feet tall. So I'm assuming that the center of the disc, like the widest part, was probably 8 feet. So as soon as Rogers stopped the truck, without any warning, Travis Walton, that 22-year-old I was talking about a little earlier, he leapt out of the passenger side and started walking directly towards a strange glowing craft. So the rest of the crew was like, "What the fuck, Travis? Like, what are you doing, man? Like, come back!" Like, what? Yeah, they were like yelling at him, like, "Get back here! What are you doing?" But later he talks about this, where he was like, in that moment, he felt like this was a once in a lifetime experience, and he wanted to fucking see whatever that was, and he wanted to get as close as he could. So this thing was like hovering quietly.
So essentially, Travis is Angela in the situation.
I was just gonna say that.
I would be Travis. I would be like, "I'm fucking seeing it, guys. This is my one.
We'd be like,
one shot I got.
What are you doing?"
We'd be like, "Fuck, do we leave her and just say sayonara, bitch? You chose your fate, or do we go after her? I don't know." Let's draw straws, Lexi.
So he was either not hearing or not listening to the rest of his friends, because he just continued on until he was standing directly underneath the mysterious object. So the disc hung in the air silently, but as Travis looked up, the crew heard a noise similar to a jet engine, but not quite, come from the object. So it started just having this big, like, and they're like, "What the fuck? It's doing something." And at that point, Travis knew that he fucked up. And the craft, when it made this noise, it started to wobble back and forth in the air, and he started to try to make his way back to the truck. I don't know whether he was walking or power walking or running, but as he was trying to make his way back to the truck, a powerful bright beam of blue light came from the bottom of the saucer, hitting Travis. The crew described the light as something... Yeah, they described it as something similar to lightning, but not really. And Travis says that during this time, he saw and heard nothing and felt like a high voltage of electrocution. So he kind of just like, suddenly, like, he couldn't see anything, felt like he was shocked, and then at that moment, he fell unconscious. So when his friends saw this, they saw him get hit by the beam, and the force of the beam made Travis's body fly like 10 feet. And eventually when he landed, he was just laying there motionless. And they were like, "Holy shit, is he unconscious? Is he dead?" And at that point, they're like, "Let's get the fuck out of here." So they were like terrified. They jumped in the truck. They were all, I think they were all still just in the truck, just witnessing all this shit go down. And they just
imagine
left.
Seeing that or witnessing that.
Yeah, so they were paranoid as hell. They thought that the craft was chasing them, so they were just, like, freaking speeding away. It's still, like, mind you, it's only a little after 6 p.m., so it's not super late at night. And they're driving, and I don't know how long they were driving until they realized that the craft wasn't following them. And then they're like, "Oh, shit, we just left Travis there. What if he's not dead?" Yeah, we fucking left Travis.
We left Angela.
So they went back.
Angela, I would like to think that I would be a good human and grab you, but I don't know what instinct would kick in, whether it's get Angela or get the fuck out. I'm sorry.
You're like, "She's fucking dead, let's just go." Yeah.
Please forgive me.
That's okay. It's alright. You know what? You have permission to leave. Because if something happens, like with Travis, what happened to Travis, then I'd be cool with that, you know? So,
well, I wouldn't be, so fucking get my body.
So, eventually, when they realized the craft isn't following them, they were like, "Okay, let's go back. Let's see, like, if Travis is still there." So they go back, and there's no UFO, and there's no Travis, and they're like, they took him, there's gone.
No Travis.
So, no Travis, he's gone. So they're like, where's his body? And at around 7:30 p.m., they call the police of a nearby town, because they're like in between towns right now. I think it was Herbert or something, or I don't know what town they were in, but they called the local sheriff, who for some reason, I don't know why, but his name is Sheriff Elson, and he wanted to meet them nearby a shopping center to discuss what happened. So I guess he was like doing police work at a shopping center, and they were like, all right, like, we'll meet you here. So the men tell him that their friend was essentially shot by a UFO, and they were like, some of them were crying, they were freaked out, they were like, please believe us. And the police officer was just like, I'm gonna call my supervisor, because I'm a little skeptical.
This is above my pay grade
right now. Yeah, this is above my pay grade, and yeah, so he notified his supervisor, and his supervisor comes with another officer, and they come to interview the crew, and Mike, who's like the best friend of Travis, who's also his boss, insists that the officers bring dogs to the area to search for Travis. So the police at that moment, they didn't have dogs that night, so the officers all just went to the area, and the crew did too, and they're showing them what happened. And when they arrived, there was no physical evidence that kind of matched the crew's story, so they didn't find any like ground being lifted up or like imprints of his body when it hit the ground and stuff like that. And they're like, are these people, like, is this a hoax? So
are they tripping on drugs?
Yeah, they're like, okay. So the officers started to believe that this was an elaborate cover-up and that they had actually killed and disposed of the body. So they thought,
shit, wait. Was Travis ever found?
We'll get to that.
Wait, you quote him. Yes, we quote him.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay.
Sorry. Taylor's a little slow today.
So,
because I was like, what if they did murder him?
Yeah. So they were worried that, like, these people, like, actually killed him, or that if he really was lost, that he would end up dying of hypothermia in the middle of the night, because in the desert, you know, it's, like, super hot at night, super cold in the morning, or super hot in the day, super cold at night. And I guess Travis at the time was only wearing jeans and a jean jacket, and it was November, so it's around the time it gets really freaking cold at night. And they're like, if he's lost out there, he's gonna get hypothermia. So they like are distraught by this news, because they're like, okay, our friend's either missing, or he's dead, or he was abducted, like we don't know what happened. And Mike is like, I have to go and tell his mom, because I guess his mom lived in Snowflake as well, and since Mike was like his good friend, he knew his family and stuff like that. So Mike goes and tells the mother. I guess the cops were like suspicious of her because her reaction was kind of like not normal. Mike told her what had happened, and she was like, can you repeat the story? Because I think she was just like, what the fuck are you saying happened to my son? Like, you know, and she was just like,
believe you?
Yeah, she was like, and who have you told about this? Like, have you just told the police? Like, what is going on? What I read is she kind of, like, she was, I think, a single mother who raised 6 children, and she was, like, cut the bullshit kind of person, you know? I guess, like, when people got to know her more, they kind of realized, like, that was kind of just her personality, like, how she initially reacted to the situation. But the mother, after Mike told her what had happened, she called the brother, who was in like a neighboring town, and the brother was like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow, I'm gonna try to help find him. So the next day, like, the volunteers, the brother, the crew, they do a missing person sweep of the forest, and there's no Travis. And after a couple days, the police actually just stopped searching, and Mike and the crew and the brother, they're pissed, and they go up to like the police, the sheriff's department, and is like, hey, you haven't found him, why aren't you guys looking for him, why aren't you taking us seriously? And so eventually they like, or start searching again.
If you think we murdered them, him, like, wouldn't you want to look into that too? Like, even just to continue looking.
Yeah. So they do kind of look into that. They question Travis's mom and the brother, and they actually like freaking grilled the mom, which angered the brother, and was like, hey, he's like, Mom, you don't have to talk to them anymore, just like they should leave you alone, because they were like grilling her that she might have had like some kind of like knowledge of what had happened. And they did a lie detector test on the friends, the like 6 guys, and all but one passed. And the one that didn't pass, it was inconclusive. And so I guess the guy who didn't pass, apparently he was like the known aggressor in the group. He was the guy that kind of had a hot head and like would always pick fights with people. I think it was inconclusive because this guy's heart rate is probably like off the charts all the fucking time, because he's just like a super like aggressive like out there person. Either that or he's the fucker that killed him, you know. So it's like but
what do we want to believe?
So, what do we want to believe? So eventually they continued the search, and they got like a lot of helicopters involved, a lot of volunteers, and it was kind of a big deal. So it caught the eye of the media, and that brought in a lot of ufologists who end up like interviewing them and questioning them about like what's happening. And so essentially everyone in the town wants to know what the fuck happened to Travis. And luckily for us,
please.
5 days after going missing, Travis popped up with a lot to share. So
nice.
Let's rewind.
He popped up.
Thank God we found Angela.
It's like, oh my God. So let's rewind back to when Travis got hit by the light beam. So from Travis's point of view, not knowing how much time went by, he regained consciousness, and he realizes he's fully dressed in a humid room, and he feels burning sensations all over his body, and he's still really groggy and trying to wake up fully, like he's like in and out, like where the fuck am I kind of thing. And as he starts waking up, he starts to make out the room around him, and he realizes he's laying on his back on a hard table with a light source hanging above him, and he can see the ceiling behind it. And the air smells really stale, and he's not sure where he's at, so he kind of thinks he's at a hospital at first because of like the table and the light.
Good assertion.
Yeah, but then he notices that the ceiling is like kind of crooked and slanting weird, and he's like, okay. And he feels very sweaty, and he realizes he's kind of has these straps that are holding him to the table, and he like starts looking down, and he has a strange device attached to the sides of his body that's going down from his like armpit to his like the waist of his jeans, and they're on each side. They're like this like metallic device. And so he's like wondering like, where the fuck am I? What is this going on? And he starts to see 3 figures approaching him, and as they get closer, he like realizes these fuckers aren't human. And he starts to like, he sees the first thing he notices is their eyes. So these things, they don't have any eyebrows, any eyelashes, they just have these big brown eyes, and he describes the irises as twice the size of human irises. So he just sees these things staring at him,
like
and
fucking
they're standing so they're standing still, kind of. Well, they're approaching him, but they're being very like still and quiet. And he sees that they have bulging bald heads and small jaws, but they were humanoid in that they were standing on 2 feet, had 2 legs and 2 arms, and they were tiny though. They were about 5 feet tall, and
so they're kind of like your stereotypical like alien head, right? With like the top,
alien head,
small jaw, and the big eyes.
And he can see that they have like little hands, and he describes their hands as very like delicate with thin bones that seem to be covered by white, palely chalky skin. And they're wearing these suits that are brownish orange, but they're kind of coveralls with no seams. So it's like from the wrist, like he could see their hands, and they're wearing like these little like seamless suits. And he's freaking out at this point.
That are orange.
Because he's just like, what the fuck? What is going on? And he has a thought of like, I have to defend myself. And later he's quoted saying, I looked at the vague but reassuring forms of the doctors around me. Abruptly, my vision cleared. The sudden horror of what I saw rocked me as I realized I was definitely not in a hospital, and I was looking square into the face of some horrible creature with huge, luminous brown eyes the size of quarters. I looked frantically around me. There were 3 of them, and hysteria came over me instantly. So I guess he, at that point, kind of just busted out of the straps and grabbed the closest object that he could find to him, which was some kind of tube. And he started, like, flinging around the tube, like, get away from me kind of thing. And he said the creatures just freaking ran. Like, they were terrified little creatures that just ran away. And they didn't make a sound as they were running away. So
they're probably like, ooh, what is the specimen? What can we do? Like, what can we learn from him? And he went from like, oh, maybe I'm in a hospital, maybe I'm not. Oh, fuck, I'm not in a hospital. Like, defensive move. Like, they're
I
like,
imagine that they were like,
we didn't know what we were getting into.
Yeah. I imagine that they were like little scientists or little Dr. Aliens that were like, oh no! Like, gotta get away.
The subject is revolting.
Yeah. So, he said that after they left the room, he kind of recovered for a moment, like, where the fuck am I? And he decided, like, he can't stay here. Like, he has to get out too. So he decided to leave the room as well. And when he left the room, he noticed a hallway. Like, he was in a hallway. And he went down the hallway. It's like, I don't know, just whatever direction seemed right. And he ended up entering, like, a circular room. And he said that the circular room had, like, a chair in it, right? And the chair, he noticed at the arms, had levers on the handles. And it was like he was in a kind of like a little planetarium. So he was like messing with the little levers, and it was like the lights on the walls were moving around. And I'm thinking, okay, the way I imagine it, it's like, this is 1975. They don't have any way to really describe technology of like screen, like touch screen type of things. Or like maybe it's like some kind of weird, like interesting like touch screen that's like the whole wall is a screen, you know, type of thing with like hella high definition, because to him it seemed almost like a mapping system of stars. But so he was sitting in this chair, and then I guess the entrance to the room was behind him, and he started hearing steps coming from behind him. And when he turns, he sees a single brown-eyed creature and a human. And he was very comforted by the fact that he was seeing another human, but confused. And he started to ask him questions like, where am I? Who are you? What is going on? And he said that the man only smiled and waved for him to follow him. And Travis, I think in the situation he was in, it's like, what other choice do I have right now? I'm going to follow the human. So he started to follow him, and as he was following him down the hallway, they passed another room that was kind of like, or an entrance to an aircraft hangar that had a lot of crafts similar to what he saw before. So he's like not sure where he's at all. People like theorize that he was either at some kind of like another place in space, at some kind of like base, or maybe underground somewhere or something, like, you know. So it had an aircraft hangar where there's like multiple crafts. And so they go past there, and then they see them, and they take them to another room where there were 3 other humans seated. And the strange man just gestures for him to take a seat as well. And when he does, a woman who's in the room puts what seems to be an oxygen mask on Travis, and before he could do anything, he goes unconscious. And the next time he wakes up, he is on the laying belly down on a cold pavement of a gas station in Heber, Arizona. And so
5 days after he was abducted.
Damn. 5 days after.
Do you think Do you think, real quick, sorry, do you think that the humans on the craft are past humans that have been brainwashed by these people and, like, they decided to keep them? Or do you think they're things that they created to look like humans, so it is, like, in a situation with, like, Travis, it would be, like, a comforting thing to see, and they don't really know how humans work, so it's, like, basis of a, like, kind of like a robot that they have that's like, okay, this is kind of like what you look like, but we don't know how you function, but follow him type of thing.
Part of me is kind of, since these things were so quiet, I feel like their way of communication is telepathy, and I feel like a lot of abductees say that it's a very telepathic communication experience, and what I'm wondering is if they're able to speak to each other telepathically, if they could communicate images, and they just kind of projected that image into his mind, where he would see what they want him to see, and he would, and that's why it was like quiet, and like, so that's what I think might have been it. Either that, or they're at some kind of weird base, and it's like people that are also working with them that have like further knowledge of what's going on. But yeah, so he woke up belly down on a pavement, and what he claims is that he actually saw something flying away after he like looked around. He saw something over the highway. And yeah, so at this point, Walton's brother-in-law, Grant Neff, received a sudden phone call slightly after midnight on the evening of November 10th. So I guess it was like the middle of the night that he woke up belly down on this pavement. And he called his brother-in-law. And the brother-in-law did not believe it was Travis at first. He thought it was weird. And especially since he knew what was going down, he thought maybe someone was just playing a cruel joke, or like he just didn't believe it. Like, why are you over there? And so he calls Travis's friends, and I think he called Mike, and he was like, we have to, I think he called Mike and like the brother, and they decided to go because if it's Travis, they want to know what happened and they want to find him. So they decide to go and find out if it's really Travis, and it is. And so they drive up to this gas station, and when they see him, they're like, dude, what the fuck happened? Like, you've been gone for 5 days. Travis thinks he's only been gone for like a few hours. Like, he doesn't remember any of it. And so they take him back to Travis's mother's house, and later his brother after that took him to a hospital in Phoenix. And after initial resistance, all involved would allow the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization to drive the case. And Walton, because of the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, got thorough exams, 2 different physical exams, and they revealed no trace of head traumas or drugs. And Travis took a polygraph exam, which he passed. So another little-known event in the immediate days following his return was a meeting that he and his brother had with the ARP consultant, James Harder, in an effort to prove his genuineness and to unlock any other memories of the account. Walton would agree to undergo hypnotic regression. So Harder himself would conduct the session. So all these memories that I said, he already had those, and they were like, all right, let's unlock some more. Let's see what happened, like, since you only remember those 2 hours. And what was interesting, though, was that Walton's or Travis's conscious recall and unconscious memory were the same. Furthermore, and perhaps even more interesting, on either mental level, Travis could access only the 2-hour period following the beam of light hitting him in the chest. Anything beyond that had a feeling of being off limits. So Travis and the guy who was putting him under hypnosis would get the impression that they were indeed memories to unlock, but there was a purposeful mental block preventing them to access them. So Travis would even state that if he attempted to retrieve these memories, he would die. Like, it just felt like these memories were off limits. Whatever's going on, like, I can't see whatever happened. And so
I don't need to know how I was probed.
So His case is in the FBI files, and to this day, he has not changed his story. And let me see, there's actually, I was watching a YouTube video on this, and that's how I came across this story. There's a podcast called Lights Out on YouTube that does an excellent job covering it. And there was a comment left on that video. Let me pull that up.
What year did this all happen again?
1975.
75?
So,
that was a while ago.
Yeah, so a comment left on the video from 3 days ago said, I met Travis at Scarefest. He is a humble man. I thoroughly believe his story. He told me he hasn't been sick since his abduction, not even a flu or cold. He wondered if he was injected with something that might have stopped illnesses. So Travis lived on. I have a couple of pictures of him that I'll pop up right now. That they're
I saw him. He has a killer mustache.
Yeah, he has a killer mustache.
Yeah.
And so that is him.
Is he still alive to this day?
He's still alive to this day. And yeah. And
I wonder if he'll survive the coronavirus.
I was thinking about something. I wonder if he'll survive coronavirus.
So something that also that he claims is happening, and there's videos on YouTube of him pointing it out, but honestly, as someone who knows nothing about trees, I don't really know what he's pointing out. But apparently the forest area where he was abducted has accelerated tree growth. So I guess they've like planted trees, and the trees that are growing hella fast in that area compared to everywhere else. And so he thinks that's like further evidence that this shit happened and it had an effect on the environment. And yeah, who fucking knows what happened to Travis? There's a lot of people that think that it's a hoax, and because I guess he got like a lot of media attention from this, and obviously,
well, no shit.
I think, yeah, and I think he got like money from, there was something that some kind of group gave him an award for like UFO case of the year, and he got $5,000 or something like that. And so there's things like that people are like, is this just a hoax? Were they all doing it for the money? But at the same time, I don't know. I don't think his friends would risk possibly being, I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened. But
there's too many eyewitnesses.
And I'd like to believe that he's sticking to his story this long. And I don't know. I think it's a really interesting story. Regardless.
Yeah.
Nice fucking story. God. Do
Crazy.
aliens exist? Yes. The government literally said that they don't know what these two objects were, like, 2-3 weeks ago? So, I have no doubt in my mind that this occurred.
I feel like there's so many cases that there has to be some truth in at least one of them. You know?
So many people have different experiences. It's weird.
I just realized, so I'm in my grandpa's office, and there's this, light lamp thing right in front of me, and there's, this little green alien that was attached to it. Look at that. I abducted Travis. So this is my new buddy. I might name him Travis because, that's a good name.
Travis.
And a good story. But right on, people. Well, hopefully this YouTube video panned out, because I know we've referenced it a couple times in the last couple episodes. Unfortunately, we had a lot of bumps in the road. So again, if this video doesn't come out and it's just Spotify for y'all, sorry. We're getting our shit together. But if it is, woohoo, for fun.
If it does,
seriously, don't even laugh. Angela, where can you find us on other places on the internet and shit?
Well, if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and check out our description box for all the links I'm about to give you. So our website is www.whofkenKnows.com. Our Instagram is @whofkenknows. I was about to say .com, but Instagram does not have that. And if you want to email us, you can email us at whofkenknows@gmail.com. And you can also feel free to DM us If you go to our website, we'll have all the photos laid out there in case the quality of them isn't good on our YouTube video. We're still figuring everything out. And you can also find our photos on Instagram and follow us there for little preview clips of episodes and little updates on our stories and stuff like that.
Give us some fucking love and criticism, but only constructive, not mean.
That's right. That's right.
Right on. Fuck, I had something else that I had like a clever ending to the episode, and it's words
into the abyss.
Taylor can't
perfect.
speak. Anyway,
all right.
Until next time, friends. Bye.
Bye.
Fuck yeah. Oh wait, I'm still recording.